Namaskaram and a very warm welcome to the third episode of our Demystification of Hindu Dharma series. We are assuming you have already watched the first two episodes together. If not, we gently encourage everyone to begin there. Our first episode sets the broader context, and our second provides a clear map of the entire journey ahead. From this episode onwards, we begin our real exploration, unpacking each profound idea slowly, clearly, and step by step. Today, we take up a foundational question that underlies both philosophy and physics. This is lesson 1 of this series. What exactly is existence? How do Bhāratīya Vijnana, our ancient scientific heritage, and modern science understand it? And how does each tradition decide what is real existence and what is not? Why should we talk about existence at all? On the surface, it feels obvious. We wake up, we live our day, we deal with life. Of course, we exist. But if we look honestly at our daily life, we see something deeper. Our existence is constantly touched by illness, pain, disappointment, aging, and finally death. We don't need philosophy to tell us this. Life itself shows it to us every single day. So, we know suffering exists, pain exists, old age and death exist. And even though none of us wants to cease to exist, we all know that one day this body will cease to exist. Yet, inside every human being, there is a quiet longing. It is a longing for a state where suffering ends, where joy is natural, and where our existence is eternal. This longing is universal, it is ancient, it is the very heart of the Hindu spiritual journey. And this is exactly why the sages of Bharat began with a simple but profound question: what is existence truly? Because we cannot end suffering unless we first understand the nature of the world we live in and the nature of the I who is experiencing it. We cannot solve a problem until we understand the canvas on which the problem is painted. So, this topic is not an academic detour. It is the first step toward reclaiming our true joyful nature. It is the doorway to freedom. And that is why our discussion begins here, asking, what is existence? Let us begin with something very ordinary. When we wake up in the morning, we see our room, our bed, the sunlight pouring in, the sound of birds, and the smell of coffee. All these things feel undeniably real to us. We naturally say, yes, these exist. But what do we actually mean when we say something exists? Let us explore this through four simple daily examples. Example 1: a chair. If we touch a chair, sit on it, or see it in front of us, we say it exists because it is physically there, whether we think about it or not. Example 2: air. We cannot see the air, but we feel its cool presence when the fan blows. It exists because it has an effect on us. Example 3: electricity. We cannot see electricity moving through the wires, but when we flip a switch, the bulb glows. It exists because it does something. Example 4: our thoughts. We cannot physically touch our inner thoughts, but we know they exist because we experience them directly. In our ordinary lives, We accept that something exists if we can see it, touch it, feel it, experience it, or witness its effects. For us, if a phenomenon doesn't cross any of these thresholds, it simply doesn't exist. But this baseline is just the surface. This is not the complete way our Bharatiya sages defined existence. Before we dive into modern scientific ideas, it helps to get a clear, intuitive sense of how ancient Bharatiya thinkers understood the term existence, astitva. They were not trying to be mysterious or overly abstract. They were being highly practical. They simply asked, what qualifies as real, even if only for a single moment? Four distinct schools of thought offered us four beautiful lenses for understanding this. First, the Nyāya Vaiśeṣika thinkers said that if we can think about something and can give it a name, it possesses a basic level of existence. They used two keywords, Neyatva, the ability to be known, and Abhidheyatva, the ability to be named. For example, if we walk into a dimly lit room and mistake a rolled up rope for a snake, in that exact moment, the snake exists for us. Our mind formed a clear thought and we labeled it with a word. Even though it was a cognitive mistake, it had a temporary functional existence in our immediate experience. Second, the Buddhist view defines existence as something that produces a functional consequence. They call this Artha Kriya Karitva or causal power. For them, something exists if it can cause an effect. For example, a horror movie monster is not physically sitting in our living room. Yet, while watching, our hearts race, our palms sweat, and we jump in fear because that image produced a real physical effect on our body. It commands a specific kind of existence. Third, Sāṅkhya and Vedānta shifted the focus from the object to the observer. They stated that anything that shows up clearly in our awareness exists, at least as an experience. They call this pratiti, a direct appearance in consciousness. For example, in a deep dream, we might fly over a magnificent golden castle. It completely vanishes the moment we wake up. But while we were asleep, it was a vivid, undeniable experience. Therefore, it held a temporary existence in our awareness. Fourth, the Vyākaraṇa or grammar school gave us the most expansive view. Existence is an underlying reality that appears in many changing forms. They call this Mahasata, the great underlying being. To understand the exact context, we can break down how the grammarians arrived at this beautiful idea through three core linguistic insights. When we look at the word cow, it doesn't just refer to one specific brown cow standing in a field, it refers to the universal quality of cowness that all cows share. Vyākaraṇa philosophers spent centuries debating what words actually point to, the individual object, Vyakti, or the universal category, Jati. This ultimate universal, the category of all categories, is what the grammarians call Mahasata or Mahasamanya. Grammarians took this debate to its absolute summit. He argued that if you trace every individual category upward, from cowness to animalness to physical objectness, you eventually hit a ceiling, the absolute highest, all encompassing category that includes every single thing in the universe is pure existence itself. For example, a gold ring, a gold chain, and a gold coin look completely different and have different names. But if we melt them down and reshape them, their outer forms perish, while the gold itself remains exactly the same. Likewise, all objects, thoughts, and experiences are temporary forms of one underlying reality. To sum up the Śāstras, existence is not just physical. Anything that appears, affects, or is experienced has a valid layer of existence. These views are very different from the views of existence according to modern science. Now, how does this compare to modern science? If our ancient traditions focused on how things show up in our awareness, modern science focuses on how things show up on our instruments. For science, something exists only when the physical universe cannot ignore its presence. Think of science as using a strict 4 step checklist before stamping something with the label exists. Step 1: Measurability and interaction. To be real, it must leave a physical footprint. We cannot see a magnetic field, but if we sprinkle iron filings over a magnet, they instantly arrange themselves into perfect geometric lines. That movement is its footprint. Similarly, we cannot see dark matter, but its gravitational pull physically bends starlight and shapes entire galaxies. Step 2: Mathematical prediction. Sometimes science discovers things on paper long before we build the technology to see them. If a mathematical model predicts something perfectly and later experiments confirm it, it exists. Einstein's equations predicted gravitational waves in 1915. For a century, nobody could detect them. But in 2015, ultra sensitive laser detectors recorded a wave passing through Earth. The mathematical prediction became a physical measurement. Step 3: Objectivity and repeatability. Science does not accept something as real just because one person felt it. It must be independent of the observer. If we see a strange light or a ghost at night, science doesn't call it an existing reality unless cameras capture it, sensors record it, multiple observers see the exact same thing, and the experiment can be repeated by anyone, anywhere. Step 4: Falsifiability. Every scientific claim must be testable. If someone tells us there is an invisible, untouchable dragon in our garage that no instrument can ever detect, science says this cannot be tested or proven wrong, so it falls outside the scientific definition of existence. Across these 4 rules, Science is essentially saying to exist is to interact, to be measurable, to be predictable, and to be testable. Science is concerned only with physical reality. It is the part of existence that can be detected, measured, and verified by anyone, anywhere. This is very different from the śāstric view. To sum up, ancient Bharatiya Shastra accepts many layers of existence: physical, mental, experiential, subtle, universal. Modern science accepts only one layer, the measurable physical layer. Both are valid within their own domains, but they are speaking about different aspects of reality. Understanding this difference is essential for the journey ahead in our series, because the Shastras explore the full spectrum of existence. Science explores the measurable slice of it. Once we grasp these fundamental concepts, the deeper concepts that follow, such as consciousness, reality, illusion, and the nature of the self, will make far more sense. However, the ancient Bharatiya Shastras go much deeper. They have very strict definitions to arrive at the ultimate truth of existence. They ask a powerful question: if something appears today and disappears tomorrow, can we call it truly real? Our childhood body existed once, but it is gone. Our thoughts come and go. Our emotions rise and fall. Even mountains change over time. So, the Shastras say real existence must be something that does not come and go. They give three strict conditions for something to be called real existence, Satya. The first is that it must be self born and self existing, meaning it should not depend on anything else for its existence. Example: a pot depends on clay, clay depends on the earth, earth depends on something else. So none of these is self existing. Therefore, anything that depends on something else for its own existence is not ultimately real existence, according to the Shastras. Secondly, it must be all pervading, meaning that if something is here but not there, it is limited. Anything limited cannot be the ultimate reality. Thirdly, it must be changeless, meaning that if something changes with time, it cannot be the final truth. Time itself cannot change the real. So the Shastras conclude emphatically this: the only true existence is that which is uncreated, all pervading or limitless and changeless. They called it Brahman, which is consciousness in English. Everything else is a temporary appearance. How modern science defines existence. Science looks at existence differently. Science does not ask, is it eternal? Science asks, can we detect it? Science accepts something as existing if it can be measured or observed or inferred from its effects. But this definition changes across different branches of science. Let us see how the Newtonian classical science defines reality. It must be a solid physical existence. In Newton's world, objects are solid, space and time are fixed. Things exist if they have mass, shape, and position. For example, a cricket ball exists because we can see it, hold it, and measure its weight. This is the simplest, most physical idea of existence in science. But for quantum science, existence is probabilistic. Quantum physics shocked the world. It says that before we observe something, it does not exist as a solid object. It exists as a probability. For example, think of a ceiling fan. When it spins fast, We cannot see the blades. We only see a blur. Quantum particles are like that. They are not things until we observe them. So, in quantum science, existence is fuzzy. Things exist as possibilities. Observation makes them real. However, when it comes to cosmic or relativity science, existence depends on space and time. Einstein showed that time is not fixed, space is not fixed. Gravity bends space, and time runs differently in different places. So, existence becomes relative. Our phone's GPS works only because satellites experience time differently than we do. Their clocks tick faster, so even time exists differently in different places. In cosmic science, existence depends on where you are and how fast you move. In mathematics, existence is logical existence. This means that something exists if it is logically consistent. Numbers, shapes, and equations exist even if they are not physical. For example, the number 5 exists. You cannot touch it, but you use it every day. This is conceptual existence. Now, the key insight here is this: science studies changing things, Shastra studies the changeless foundation. Science says something exists if it can be detected. Shastra says something exists only if it cannot be destroyed. Science deals with phenomena. Shastra deals with the ground of all phenomena. Science asks what appears. Shastra asks what remains. Now, let us see why the śāstric definition is all encompassing. Because it includes physical existence, mental existence, mathematical existence, quantum existence, cosmic existence, and the existence of the observer. It does not reject any of these. It simply says all these are temporary waves. The ocean beneath them is the only true existence. That ocean is consciousness, the one reality that does not come and go. The sum and substance of our discussions in this episode is this: everyday life shows us simple existence. Science shows us measurable changing existence. Mathematics shows us conceptual existence. Quantum and cosmic science show us a strange, flexible existence. Bhāratīya śāstras show us the ultimate, unchanging existence behind all these. Everything you see, touch, think, or imagine is a temporary expression. The only thing that truly is, always, everywhere, without change, is pure existence itself, which the Shastras call Brahman. This is the only one God in Hindu Dharma. There are not many gods in Hindu Dharma. What is there in many is not God. They are Ishwaras. Both are different. We will come to all that in good time. It is beautiful to realize that modern science and our ancient Shastras are not in competition. Rather, they are deeply complementary forces. This harmony has become profoundly vivid after the advent of quantum science, where the rigid boundaries of physical matter soften into probabilities and interconnectedness, closely echoing the very insights our sages mapped out millennia ago. Recognizing this connection helps us build a healthy, balanced worldview, showing that science and Shastra are not adversaries but true partners walking hand in hand to guide human evolution towards both outer progress and inner fulfillment. In the next episode, we will discuss the nature of the cosmos through the twin eyes of the Bhāratīya Śāstras and science. Whatever we discussed in this episode is the foundation for the next. Hence, it would be helpful if this were understood through contemplation before moving on. See you all in the next episode. Namaskaram.